We'll be live in 20 seconds. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is Melvin Key, the CEO of MVP Protective Services, and I'm here today. I have a couple of special guests. I'm gonna try to also go live on my phone. I don't know how all of this stuff works. I need somebody to set all of this up for me, to be honest with you. But I'm here today to talk about. We have a case study. As you all know, just Wednesday morning at around 6:46 a.m., Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was in New York for an investors meeting. When he was walking into the meeting at the Hilton Hotel, here it is. We have another problem. We're having trouble streaming to Instagram. If you ended on the Instagram, this is expected. If not, continue creating a new Instagram stream. Okay, well, what we got to do is just jump off of Instagram here, and I don't know. We'll figure it out. So, Mr. Thompson was in New York for a meeting, an investors meeting for his company, United Healthcare. When he was walking into the building, someone approached him from the rear, and the person fired multiple shots, striking Mr. Thompson in the back and also in his legs. And from my understanding, there may have been a few more shots pumped into him as he lay bleeding out on the ground. So I want to talk to you all about you all who are in security. So if you're in security, you're in executive protection. We want to talk about this, and I have Larry, who's now trying to come in, and we're going to bring Larry Penton on from what is Larry, I forgot your name. Penton Solutions, Penton Medical Solutions, I believe what it is. Please forgive me, my friend. But Larry Penton does all of the training, the medical training for our EP class. And he's going to talk, and this is something that we talk about heavily in the executive protection class, because when people see people doing executive protection or bodyguard work, and you see a lot in a lot of my content, I say bodyguard work, because when I'm talking to normal people and they ask me what I do and I say executive protection, they look at me like a dog with two heads on. So when I talk, I try to make the terms common for the people who will be hearing it. So when I say bodyguard, I'm actually talking about executive protection agent. Please don't think I don't know what I'm doing or what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to break it down in the simplest terms so people can understand it. So, but when people see bodyguards or executive protection agents walking around with clients, they think that's it to the job. Somebody stands right here to the left, somebody stands to the right, somebody stands in the front, and somebody stands in the back. I just want you all to know that that is like 2% of what we do. The real work is done in the planning and research. All right. And so my battle with some of you know and some of you don't know, but I work with a lot of Fortune 100 companies. Okay. That is my specialty. So you will very rarely see me with an entertainer, a rapper, or anything like that. Not that I won't do it, but it has to be very top level entertainer, a rapper, A-list. And not just because they're A-list don't always mean that you're going to get the best client. So what I try to do is, oh man, I just realized my thing wasn't on here. It's all good. So what I try to do is work with the ones who are going to be as least problematic as possible. Okay, Joseph said I cut out on IG. Joseph, thank you for chopping in too. And listen, if you guys want to chime in, I don't know how, I'm trying to work this out, but what I'm going to try to do, if you want to chime in and you have something to say on the stream, I'm going to send you the copy so that you can come in on so that you can come in on the stream with us to talk about it. So if you see people walking around, that's just a little piece of what we do. What we really do is in the planning and research, right? And my constant battle, and I have several high-level executives that I love them to death, and they love me to death. They just don't like security. I often get from them, I just don't see why this is necessary. I just don't see why this is necessary. Well, I think Wednesday was a wake-up call for a bunch of people. Not only is it necessary, it's very necessary. Hey, Rodney, good to see you, my friend. Also, Joseph Whedon over here on LinkedIn. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for chiming in. So the Instagram is not it's not showing here, but it is showing. I am uh, on Instagram at the same time. So what I probably will need to do is jump back on to Instagram, and how to do all of that stuff. I need a technical person to actually work the back end of this stuff. So let me try to get you guys back in on Instagram. And it's probably because what I'm doing is streaming on my phone, and I'm also streaming on the computer, and I'm on Instagram in both places, and Instagram is probably confused. So I'm gonna chime out of Instagram on my phone real quick. Now, I just need you guys' help. If you're on here, just let me know. Let me know if you see me on Instagram or not Instagram. All right. So I'm gonna keep on talking, and for the meantime, I'm gonna bring Larry Penton in, so he can talk while I get the back end of this live stream working the correct way. And so the reason why Larry Penton is Doc, if you're on here too, I need you to request to come in, because I want to also bring you on, Doc. We call him Doc, but he's Jexer Jerome Pagans. Hey, Bungie, I see my whole team coming in. IG is working right. Hey, Ted, we need to catch up as well. I see my team members coming on this IG, and these guys can tell you we work all around the country. And for you guys who are aspiring executive protection agents, and they're going to tell you, right? Yeah, we do a lot of moving. Some days it's a couple hours, some days it's the whole day. We do a lot of moving around with people. But before we actually do that moving around, guess what we do? We move around. So we're going to talk about advanced work. A lot of times where people are in this profession, they're just showing up. You don't, not only do we do executive protection, we do corporate security and political events. So when we're at these events, 10 out of 10 times, 20 out of 10 times, I am the guy. Nobody gets through anything with me. I'm the director of security. I'm the head man. And you won't believe how many executive protection agents or bodyguards show up to these venues with their clients and are armed. Now, rule 101 in executive protection work, you don't go anywhere until you go somewhere. You're not going to show up armed, and when you get turned around, okay, Doc, I see you. And when you get turned around, you get to the venue, and you got a guy like me who's a complete asshole in these situations at times, not in a bad way, but I'm very strict about who comes in with weapons and who doesn't come in with weapons. So when guys are coming in to these places with their VIPs and they're getting turned around at the door, how do how does that look for your VIP? So a lot of people aren't doing advanced work. They're just walking around with people. And I hate to say it, but I love to say it at the same time. Advanced work is the foundation. Researching and planning is the foundation of executive protection work. Larry, okay, I'm going to bring you in. I really don't want you to talk about the thing that I want you to talk about yet, because I have to lay the foundation for that. But I'm just going to bring you on. In the meantime, while I work on the back end of trying to get everybody back on Instagram on the live stream. So give me a moment, and I'm going to bring Larry Penton on, and he can tell you a little bit about himself. And then we'll go into what he's really going to talk about, the medical component of executive protection. So what makes you get paid the high dollars? What makes your phone continue to ring? And I'm going to tell you right now that my phone is ringing off of the hook. We have board members and shareholders and executives who are zooming through offices, flipping through the yellow pages, trying to find the best protectors for their executives, and trying to find the best advice of how to prevent something like this from happening to their executives. So Larry, without a further ado, I'm going to bring you on. And I think this whole Instagram thing is probably going to fall out, because I believe the reason I got kicked off over here is because I'm on over here. So give me a second and let me chime out and then come back on. Okay. Oh, no. I wasn't supposed to end. I was supposed to bring Larry in. All right. Well, give me a second, guys, and we'll be right back on. All right. Okay. So here we are here. Let me get this over here going. So it says, okay, can you got so now it says I am live on here. This is just so weird. What's up, hey howdy? All right, let's just get that out of there. Okay, get that out of there. All right, let's try it here. Let's go. Yeah, this thing is giving me a complete problem on Instagram. So let's jump off and jump back on again. All right. It's really all right. Let's go jump off and jump back on again. I don't know what's going on with this. Again, I'm not a technical guy. I'm in my house. I'm on my day off, so I'm in my house, and I don't have anybody in the office that can come and fix this. So let me try this again. All right. Remove that from live stream. Let's add it back on, and we'll come right back on. See you guys in a few minutes. Here we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Here we go. All right. So I don't have to log off at all. Here we go. That is that. Let's go. Let's go live. Let's go live here. We're already going live. Okay. I should be back on Instagram now. Yeah, I should be back on Instagram now. All right. Let's do it. All right. Here we go. All right. It looks like I am on now. Looks like I am on now. This is what it just looks like. Okay, looks like I'm on IG Live now. All right, guys. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Back to the topic. Larry, let's see if we can get you on here. I think I sent you the link. Check your email, Larry, because I sent you Larry Penton. Check your email. I sent you the link, and we'll do it again. Maybe in fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna post it right here. LinkedIn, edit, invite. Here we go. Anybody who wants to come on and comment, just bam, tap into that link right there. There it is. The link is right there. If you want to come in and you want to be on part on the screen, just tap in right there. I'll bring you on the screen. Appreciate you. Okay, so we're back at it, and we're talking about the CEO of United Healthcare. So as you all know, you guys watched the news the other day. Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was in New York uh, for a investors conference, and at around 6:46 a.m. he was walking down the street when an assailant dressed in dark clothing with a backpack and armed with a semi-automatic pistol with a silencer on it, walked up from behind him and fired multiple shots, striking him in the back and the leg, ultimately ending his life. An untimely death for a corporate executive. And so, as I was saying earlier, I am always this is my line of work. This is not something that I say I do. This is not something that I insinuate that I do. This is something that I do. I work with some of the most powerful companies and people in the world. And oftentimes these executives, and I understand it, they do not want security. And it always puzzles me as to why they don't want security. But I actually know the reason, because I am working with them. And when I'm working with them, their comments are that, hey, this is, this is, I don't need this. I'm a regular person. Nobody knows me. I live in this state, and I walk from here to there, and I do this all the time. And which is true. A lot of them have. One of my CEOs is one of my favorite people in the world, and she lives in the city, and everything is within arm's reach. And so when she does go out, what she does is walk around. She goes to the local restaurants. She, goes to the places that she likes, and nobody bothers her because nobody knows who she is. But that is not always the situation. And so and so, and so what happens is they forego the security. So there are two reasons why they forgo the security. One, they think they're normal people. Number two, they are weighing the costs versus the benefits. All right. It is not cheap to hire someone to do executive protection for you, as we all know, right? If you are a bottom of the line executive protection agent, you're probably making roughly. And I'm talking about bottom of the line. And there's people get mad when I talk about this, but just like a movie actor, right? Let's just say Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is probably one of the greatest actors of all times, right? So if Denzel wanted to be in a comedy movie, he wouldn't even have to. I think he said he hasn't had to audition for a part in the movie for like 30 years. They just, hey, call Denzel. He got it. Send him the script. Denzel, send him the script, send him the contract, and send him the money. And it kind of works like that in the executive protection business, right? So Denzel can get any Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, they can get any role that they want in Hollywood. And the reason why, because they have designated themselves as high level actors. And the same thing in executive protections, right? So, so if you got like a Chris Rock or a Chris Tucker trying to get a Denzel role, that's not gonna work out too good. Nobody's gonna take Chris Tucker seriously for a Denzel role, but Denzel can cross over any genre of film, movie, and television. And it's the same in executive protection, right? So when I started doing executive protection, I was doing local celebrities, rappers, radio hosts. In DC, go-go music is big, it's huge. And so I used to travel with the local bands, right? And then I started moving up to hip hop, R&B. And then after a while, there's some level of burnout in all of this, right? So I went from that to actually elevating to the political arena, into the corporate security environment. And now, I with very little to zero advertising, my phone rings ad nauseum. So there's no marketing that I'm doing, but the corporate world knows about me. And once they know about you in the corporate world, they share your information. So, but my battle again is um, getting the C-suite to understand that regardless of what they think about themselves, that they need security. And again, security is not cheap. The low-level security agents, the bodyguards, the executive protection agents, they're working for somewhere between $300 and $500 a day. I mean, 300, 350, and that's good money for them. However, when you start to do the math on what they're actually getting paid and how many hours you work, sometimes it boils down. So if you're working for $350 a day, and you're working 18 hours, with in most cases it is when you're working with the celebrity side, then when it breaks down to the hour, it breaks down to about $13.88 an hour. And that is just something that many people, established people who are just not willing to work for. And I wouldn't be one of the people who are willing to work for that amount of money. So these are all the things that these executives are taking into place? What's the cost benefit? So I want you guys to write this down. You got a pen and paper, and you kind of do executive protection, but you really don't do it, and everybody believes you do it, or whatever. You get a local person or to come through the nightclub or whatever, and you kind of get to work with them. And they call you and they come into your town. I'm gonna tell you. I want you to write this down. Just write this word down: cost benefit analysis. All right. And the cost benefit analysis is a way of risk management. We're just basically saying, okay, when we talk about risk management, you have um, risk avoidance, you have risk acceptance, you have risk mitigation, and you also have risk transfer. So let's just talk about what it is first. Risk avoidance is basically what it says. How Let's just avoid the risk, right? Okay, so we got the CEO of United Healthcare. He's going to New York. He has a bunch of threats on his life. And from I'm looking at Joseph Wheaton over here on LinkedIn. Joseph said, and I did read this in the news, and I have done quite a bit of study on it, that Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, had had prior threats. Many board and executive voting committees. He says many board and let's say don't think that it can happen to them. That is very true, Joe. But he had many threats on him. I had one client with 3,500 death threats in one day, and this is no exaggeration. And so to sit down with this client to explain to them why they needed security, it still didn't register to them because I can't say where the client worked at, but their company, well, their organization, because it's not a company, their organization will not pay for security, and I think that's going to change because of the organization. It'll come out later. I think that's going to change now because of the increased violence to corporate executives. If you guys watch my video on YouTube, there have been, and this is just the ones that I posted. There are lots more, and not even to include the attacks on these principles. There have been 5 CEOs or high-level executives of corporations killed in the last 5 years. One has been dismembered. One has been raped. I mean, it's and like I said, the list goes on. So so I need something to drink. Here we go. All right. So so basically, this can happen to any of them, and they don't think that it can happen to them. And it's our job, especially if you're a CSO, chief security officer of any organization, if you are a executive protection agent, if you're a security manager in any organization, it is our job to sell them on the fact that they need this protection. Now we're not making a sale. We're trying to get them what we call buy-in. We want buy-in from these executives, not for our benefit. Well, we're going to benefit. That's just the icing on the cake. That's the end result of it, but for their benefit. And it's very hard to get them to buy in to the fact that they need these services. Now, the other part of this is where they are deciding, okay, all right, now we need services. And I can tell you that my phone has been ringing since yesterday. My phone has been ringing since yesterday. Late last night, I was on my sofa when the phone watching the Detroit Lions Green Bay game. Excuse me. When my phone rang, and it was one of these corporations that we see in the news, and they had a need and they wanted to talk about it. Now, here's the problem with that. Okay, let me tell you what the problem with this. This is what I'm hearing. When a lot of these people are calling, they say, "Hey, we need some protection, and we're considering some options." Your name came up, and this is just not this company. I'm hearing it from other of my colleagues who own companies, who are also starting to get the calls. But the calls are for what they are saying is we need We need at least an armed driver. Okay. Our executives are moving from point A to point B. We need kind of armed driver to be with them everywhere to go. That is nice, but that absolutely means nothing. And the reason I'll tell you why it means absolutely nothing, the reason it means absolutely nothing, because the armed driver never gets out of the car. The driver's job is to drive. Okay. So he pulls up to the hotel, the Hilton Hotel. The CEO opens the door and gets out. And sometimes, a lot of times, the CEOs are jumping out. These guys are like high level, high everything. When the car, before the car stop, a lot of these guys are jumping out the door. The doors open and the car is still rolling to a halt, and they're out and they're moving, which could be a good thing. I mean, make them a hard target. But if you are a driver, you don't have the option, especially if you're working in New York, to pull up to a door and then get out and open the door in the middle of a lot of these one-way streets and all kind of crazy traffic. You don't have the option to do that. So all you can do is get up, pull up, whoever the executive gets out of the car, walks to a building, and you are not an executive protection agent at that point, because when the spit hits the fan, you're just a witness. It's already happened. It's already happened. And 9 out of 10 times, once the attack happens, the perpetrator is going in the wind. He's running, and you're stuck here with a car, a bleeding executive or principal on the ground, and then you have to make decisions. What do? Do you get into a shootout in broad daylight in New York City with 100,000 people walking around? Can you do that? Well, and do you have the authority to do that? The threat has already happened. I mean, the attack has already happened, and the threat is running away. So you don't even have the authority to get out and then chase a person down and then gun them down. And while you're chasing that person down and getting involved in this shootout, your principal is laying here on the sidewalk, taking his last breaths and bleeding out. So your primary responsibility is not to be defending yourself or chasing a suspect. It is to be providing this principal medical care. I hope you guys get that. That's not a hard sell, right? So this armed guy actually does nothing for you. And then another thing that I'm experiencing, and I get corporate people that say, "Hey, listen, well, they're not even the people that they're using. It's not just I mean, a lot of guys who are in the industry can attest to this. They're calling a regular car service, right? They're calling a regular car service. A lot of times the cars are dirty. There's not the same driver. The driver doesn't know the executive. The executive doesn't know the driver. A lot of times they don't know routes. They don't know alternative routes. They don't know what a hospital is. So when we start talking about, again, when I talked about earlier about planning, one of the things that we're doing in planning is we're running routes. Okay, this is the most direct route. Okay, here's an alternative route if something's wrong on that route, if it's street closure, if it's traffic, whatever's going on, we can't go that way. And then if that doesn't work out, here's this third route. We're going to go this way. Okay, and having an estimated a time of arrival for all of those locations. So that's one thing that a certified security driver can do for you, and will do for you, and should do for you. And as an executive protection agent who works with a lot of high-level people, I don't want a guy in the driver's seat that doesn't know what he's doing or where he's going. He does. If the shit hits the fan, they don't know how to get us out of trouble. They haven't taken a defensive driving class, an evasive driving class, an executive chauffeur class. They haven't taken anything like that. So you're relying on a guy who doesn't know where he's going and doesn't know what he's doing, not only to save your life, your principal's life, but to save your life. So when I get those kind of conversations, we have a driver, we just need an agent. I'm sorry, ma'am, sir, we can't do that. We work as a team. And when you're working as a team, you should have multiple agents, right? So I don't, these conversations and calls that are going on from these executives saying they want this, they want that. It's not up to them to tell us what want or what they need. It's for us to tell them what they want and what they need. And any executive protection, if you got one, you got a driver, again, armed or unarmed, he's useless. His job is to drive, not to get out and open doors, not to walk your client into a building, not to carry luggage and all of that. That's not your job. Your job is to sit there with the car in neutral, with the wheels turned out to the street. And if we go into this building and what happened to Brian Thompson, we see that go down, your close protection guy is supposed to handle that business. Well, the advanced guy is supposed to handle that business. Your close protection guy is supposed to get that principal, cover him or her, and evacuate him or her into that vehicle. And that driver should know where to go, especially if one of you all gets shot. So one of the things we want that we do is to know where to go. Again, those routes, but we need to know where the police stations are, where the fire stations are, where a veterinary hospital is, if you can't get to a close hospital. But you need to know where the hospitals are, and not just any hospital, because if you get a trauma case, you can't go to, a level, a full hospital or whatever. You need to go to a level 1 hospital where they have specialists and emergency surgeons and all of those things to be able to, and life-saving things and critical care things to be ICUs to be able to save your life. So, this is why we don't use just a car service. That's why we just don't use drivers. And if you have any executive, any corporation calling you right now, and you're watching this and you are saying, hey, they're calling me and they say they need a bodyguard, please, the money is not important. You have people at your house. I have people at my house, my family, who is waiting for me to walk through that door. Even my dogs are waiting for me to walk through that door. I've been gone for 260 something days this year. So when I come home, everybody is happy to see me. And your family feels the same way about you, the exact same way about you. So you need to tell, again, it's not for these companies to tell you what they need. It's for you to tell them what they need. And if they're going to go with security, let's not play around with it. We don't need an army. We don't need 32 men. We don't need a 5-man team. We don't need a 10-man team. What we need is basically 3 things: a driver, an advance agent, and a close protection agent. And that would do it for the basic corporate executive. Right now, depends on, so the money part comes into it, where let's say, okay, now we need it for the CEO, the COO, the CFO. So that's where the money part comes in, right? So now it starts to calculate, because in a good executive protection agent makes about $120,000 a year, $100,000 to $120,000 a year. So each team would account for at least $360,000, $360,000. Let's call it $400,000 for a year. And then you would also need to pay for some type of vehicle. Maybe the company has a Suburban or Escalade, or you got to rent whatever it is. You got to rent the vehicle. So let's just call that another $100,000. So let's just call it $1 million a year for a security team for the CEO, the CFO, and the COO. I think that's fair. So at a basic standard, that's what you should be quoting these people that are calling you. 1 is for safety, and 2 is for safety, and then 3 is for safety. Now, we could talk about, how you guys think that happened. Now, let's get some questions and comments in here. And Larry, I'm looking for you, my friend. Are you on this live? Anybody on this live? You got any questions, comments? Let's join in. Let's get the conversation going. I don't want to be talking at you. I want to be talking to you, and I want to be talking with you. So, Larry, I don't know where you are, my friend. I'm going to post the thing in here again, but I'd like to get you on. I think Doc said he was already, he had a doctor's appointment today, so he couldn't get on. But if you work in security, if you're an executive protection professional, if you're a bodyguard, if you're a close protection agent, if you're in Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, if you are in Texas, Houston, Chicago, Charlotte, wherever you are, Austria, I just talked to a guy today in Dubai. If you're on here and you're working this industry, let's talk about it. I like to hear your thoughts. I don't want to be singing to the choir because I know you guys have some of the same pressure and pain points as that I have. And the objective of this live is to move the needle forward, right? Again, we want our principals to go home. We want our clients to go home. Okay, Larry, let me send the link again, my friend. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's try it. I'm going to post it here in the comments, Larry. All right. So yeah, if you ever see me and my teams, and when you see us moving, we move like the Secret Service and the State Department. A lot of what I learned were from a lot of the professionals that work for those agencies. Right. I worked in D.C. for 20 years as a police officer. I retired as a captain in 2007, and I was still young. I was only 35. And I said, well, okay, well, what am I going to do next? And I said, okay, I'll just do what I'm already good at, protecting people. I've been doing it all my life. I grew up in a very rough neighborhood where, I had three brothers, and in that neighborhood, if you didn't know how to protect yourself and not know how to look out for things, you could easily be the next person on the news story for on the local news story for that day. So I developed a very keen eye of watching people, watching the environment, seeing how things move, how people move, and from that point, I joined the police department, and then that took it to another level, and then I was involved in several fatal shootings or shootings during my career, and that gave me, that level of PTSD. PTSD I mean, it could be framed as a bad thing, but actually it helped me to develop, to become to see things better, to see them, like to forecast things and see things in slow motion that other people would be oblivious to. So PTSD has actually helped me in some way. But if you ever see us moving, that's how we're moving. But when we're moving, we move with confidence. And we're talking about Brian Thompson. So I said you need a driver, a close protection guy. That's the guy that's going to cover you and it's going to evacuate you. And then your advanced guy. Your advanced guy is going before you go. I said advanced is go before you go so you can know before you know. Because this could have been prevented, and this could have been prevented easily. One, by having agents. And from my understanding, they said the Mr. Thompson did have agents, and I'm sorry to be laughing, but I mean it's actually laughable at this matter. They said at this point, they said he did have agents, but that the agents were on standby. And to me, that's the same as having zero agents at all. What does agents on standby? What does that actually mean? And to us who actually do this job, that means zero. That means absolutely nothing. They probably were still asleep. They probably were FaceTiming their girlfriends or whatever, And if you're going to be a CSO or EP manager, you need to be able to be um, you need to be able to be firm with the people that you're protecting. And I know that's hard. This guy's making $10 million a year, and you're making $120,000 a year. So like 1%, $20,000 a year. So 1% of what he's making. You're glad to have a job, and you're glad to be working with the CEO or an executive. So you don't want to stir the pot so you don't lose your good job, right? This income for you and your family. I get it, but I'd rather lose my job than to lose my life or to lose a principal. So you have to be able to be firm and say, okay, when you move, we move. And Ludacris had a song, "When you move, I move," just like that, or something like that, right? You move, I move, you move, just like that. And that's how it works with the executive protection industry. So if they were on standby, my friend, you weren't doing security at all. And whoever commissioned these agents to be on standby, they should be fired along with the agents. Again, we're living in an environment. We're living in a time and an environment where everything is crazy. For Christ's sake, they just tried to assassinate President-elect Donald Trump a few months ago. That's unheard of. When the last time we had an assassination of anybody in the United States on that level? An attempt? or anything. But they not only did they do it once, it's been tried twice on President elect Donald Trump. Right. So this is where we are. If you watch, you hear me talking about a lot. I'm going to drop another video on YouTube today, one about the Pope and one about Prince Charles, where things are happening the most are when you're entering and exiting buildings and vehicles. And we got a lot of guys that say M bus, D bus again, but I try to make it kindergarten simple for you. Entering and exiting buildings and vehicles. Those are the most dangerous times for an executive or for anybody that you're a principal that you're protecting. The other most dangerous times are when they are on stages or platforms, and that doesn't just apply to executives. That also applies to entertainers. Because what are we seeing today? We're seeing people jumping on stages, running up to entertainers, whether it's nefarious or hey, they just want to make a statement and give a person a hug or whatever. It's very dangerous. So we need to be, these are the places that we need to be most. We need to be the most on point, the most aware of what's going on and what's our environment. Again, if an advanced agent was there and you had a driver, we pulled up to the building, boom, the advanced agent is already there standing at the door. And that guy or girl needs to be a very sharp person, and they need to be, you can't control the environment, but you can observe the environment. Because if we got there and we had communication, which is another part of this, not only are you working together, you need some kind of communication. Hey, I'm 5 minutes out. I'm 10 minutes out. If it's by phone, which I don't like because it takes your awareness away. But if it's by radio, we're on radio all the time. Hey, 5 minutes out, 10 minutes out. The advanced guy saying, okay, here, I'm going to be at the door. Boom. Sometimes a lot of times we take a picture. Here's the door right here. They already went in. The conference is in ballroom, ballrooms, the bathrooms are here. Okay. The stage is here. We got all pictures. So when we get there, I see the advanced guy, boom, we pull up, agent in the front seat, driver, principal in the back seat. We pull up, door side. The agent gets out, the close protection guy gets out. He or she opens the door for the principal. We're observing the environment. Then when we feel like it's safe, we're going into this building. And when we go into this building, we're also coming out of this building. And you can believe that. So these are things that could have prevented this. It could have prevented it altogether. So again, when you're dealing with people and you're trying to negotiate contracts, don't go for, we just need an armed driver to drive us around. If you want money, by all means, do your thing. Drive them around. If they're going to pay you to drive them around for nothing, it's really a waste of money, right? It's really a waste of money. If you're driving around and you let them out of the car and they get ambushed at the door, all you can do is drive away so you don't get shot too. That's pretty much it. You're witness number 2, witness number 1. All right, so I've talked enough. Larry, I still can't get you on, my man. I posted the link right here in the comment section. Do you see it? Let's do it. I'm gonna do it again. Let's try it again. All right, again, this link is for any of you guys. If you want to get on, there it is, bro, Larry. I just posted it right before you clicked in, before you said no. If you want to get on, please do. Let's make this a two-way conversation. There's a lot of things that you can learn. There's a lot of things that I can learn. I'm certain a lot of you guys do this work. Can't post comments to some destinations. All right, Larry, I'm going to just send this to you. I'm going to send it to you on Instagram. Here it is right here. You guys on Instagram, if you can't see this, all right, if you didn't see this link, oh shoot, I don't know what happened. Okay, if you can't see that and you want to come on, let me know. I'll get you on. This LinkedIn thing is trip. It looks like it's moving, but I don't know. Okay. Any comments? Please leave your comments on here. I still don't see the LinkedIn thing on here. It says that we're on. LP, I see you say, but do you see it? You still don't see this. Do you look right above this comment? Do you see any comments there? I'm gonna send it to your email. I don't know, Larry. For whatever reason, you got Larry Penton, but nothing's coming up for you. What is your? I'm trying to email it to you now, and I can't text it to you because I don't have the link on my phone. Okay. Oh man. All right, guys. I'm sorry for the delay. I'm trying to get Larry Penton on here. Okay. All right. Got it. Let me try to get this. I'm trying to get Larry on here so you guys can talk to you because Larry, again, he's Larry, do me a favor, email me because I can't even copy. I can't even copy your email. So email me at my email, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to email you right back with the link. Instagram, you still with me? Yeah, looks like we jumped off of Instagram. Okay, all right. Instagram. All right, Larry, let's try this again. Here we go. There you go. There you go. Okay. Anybody's on Instagram, if you want to come in on this live and get in on this thing, click that link right there. I'll bring you on. And please just don't watch. Don't watch. I love talking, but I love to hear from others. Mo, what's going on, my man? Good to see you. I just seen you go through the icon class. That's a good thing. I'm glad you did that. I always say continuous learning is the best. I'm glad that you came to my class, but it's just one class. You have different concepts and from different people. Icon is a very good school. Love them over there, marking them guys. Those guys are killing it over there. Some of my good friends over there. So I'm glad you guys connected. I'm glad you connected and went there. And also, not only will you when you go to these different classes, not only will you learn the different ways of doing things, different techniques, you may learn something new, but you also connect with other people, right? And that's very important. And the impression that you make on other people, I say, don't go in looking for opportunity from someone. I mean, that's always it's part of the reason why you go to the class, but don't make that your main priority for attending the class. Make your priority to make those connections, but to show the people that you are a good character, that you're willing to invest in yourself, that you're willing to go the extra mile, and that's going to pay dividends for you. Okay. I saw one of my good fellows over here, Jerry. Jerry say, Mr. How do you think? Let's see. Okay, there it is. Is it why you think Mr. Key is the main reason CEOs feel like they don't need protection? Hey Jerry, Jerry, thanks for your question. Now, one of the reasons that CEOs don't feel like and I talked about this earlier in this live. The reason that they just feel like they're regular people. Like I said earlier, I have a couple of them. I mean, just love me, and I love them back, and they love me. They love to see me, but they hate having me as security. It's the same, plain and simple. A lot of them live regular lives. A lot of them have, when you're not there, when their days off, they're doing their regular thing, and we say, okay, nobody's bothering me on my days off. So now that I'm working, nobody recognized me when I was off, when I was chilling at the beach, or I was on United Airlines in first class. Nobody recognized me. So why, when I'm walking down the street in an urban city, that all of a sudden that people know who I am? So they feel like they don't need it. And the other thing is that they can't they don't want to justify the cost to put that security on. So those are some of the main reasons. But again, you are a salesman and not a salesman for to get the money, but a salesman to keep them alive. And you have to be able to state your case and make it clear why they will need the security. And then again, for me, uh, you guys can Google. We can Google right now, and I think I can present on here, and I'll show you a plethora of cases where CEOs have been murdered over the last 5 years. Right? People thinking that they don't, that people don't know who they are. Oh, I got some more links. All right, Facebook is on now. I don't know, for whatever reason they let me get on Facebook. Hey, Facebook. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Larry Penton on so that I can take a breather and let him talk a little bit. And again, for you all that don't know, Larry Penton is a friend, a colleague, a brother. He does, him and Dexter Jerome Paggins, they do all of the medical training for our executive protection classes. And if you're interested in executive protection and you haven't attended a class, I don't care if you are a police officer, if you are a Marine, I don't care if you bodyguarded 10 people in your career and you work with, 50 Cent and things like that, but you've never taken a class. What does that say about you? Yeah, maybe you've been successful for 18 years without a class, but what does that say about you? No room for growth. You know everything. You've been doing it for 18 years without incident. Yeah, that won't go over. That won't go over too far. We should always. The thing about life is evolution and growth. You should always be striving to be better. You should always be striving to grow. All right. So let's get Jerry. Thank you for your question. Let's get a couple of more people on here. Joseph said there's a poor excuse. I see many doing it. That's what Joe said. Um, hey Jackie. Uh, Jackie Norris in UK, thank you for joining. It's a pleasure to have you on. If you have any comments, any things that you're seeing, are they doing things the same over there in the UK? If they are, I'd like to hear your comments and also to hear from women. I'm an advocate for women in the executive protection business. When the thing with Donald Trump hit the fan, a lot of people were pissed off about the women. They started saying DEI and all of that good stuff. I mean, of course, maybe some of that was a part of it, but for me, I see you, Larry. I got you. For me, I've worked with a lot of women in executive protection, and just worked with a few women a couple of weeks ago, and I can tell you right now, these women will run circles around a lot of the guys. All right. So hats off to you, Jackie Norris, from out there in the UK, and I hope to connect with you soon. And then let's go ahead and bring Larry Penton on. And also, one of the things I'm going to talk about too, and I talk about this a lot, firearms and executive protection. Again, about 90, somewhere between 92 and 95%, 98%, something like that, security details in the United States that private security are doing are unarmed jobs, right? And if you go to an executive protection class and you're going and you're shooting around barricades and you're doing all this stuff, shooting around tires and on the ground and shooting through car windows and all of that good stuff, let me just explain to you that all of that's good, but to me, it's a waste of time to do, right? The reason I say that is because the foundation things. If you getting to a point where you're shooting around cars and barriers and all tree trunks and all of that stuff, you have done a horrible job as an executive protection agent, because again, the foundation of executive protection work is in risk management, and risk management has to do with a lot of planning and research, right? So it's good to take those classes, but that class should be a tactical combat shooting class outside of the executive protection class. You understand what I'm saying? So when you come to class with us, I'm focusing on, these are the things. This is how you do a risk assessment. This is how you do a security operations plan. This is how you do advanced work. And then we're drilling that in, drilling that in, drilling that in. day after day, so that when game day comes and you find your phone, the red phone rings, and someone calls you and say, I want you on my executive protection detail, that you fall in and you're not, when you're working in that detail, you know exactly what to do, how to do it. And when, if and when things do hit the fan, you know how to operate as an executive protection agent and not a mercenary shooting up the block. All right. So just think about that. And the other part about that, if you go to an executive protection class and we're teaching shooting and all of that good stuff, these may be with these 10 or 15 people you are with for these 5 days. But after those 5 days, you may never see any of those people again. So when you take your firearm training and you really start to entrench yourself in executive protection, that is when you need to start incorporating the executive protection part of the training with the firearm stuff, because you will be working with people that you will actually be working with on a consistent basis. And you want to know what those people are going to do when things hit the fan. All right, so without further ado, if you guys don't have any questions over here, again, on Instagram, there's a link in there. Make sure that you hit that link. If you want to come on screen, I'll bring you on screen, but in the interim, because I've talked enough, I want to talk to Larry Penton, and he's going to give you a little bit of his background, and he's also going to tell you why it is imperative, absolutely imperative, to have medical training if you work as an executive protection agent. Okay, without further ado, Larry Penton, you are on stage. Let's do it, buddy. Absolutely imperative to have medical training if you work as an executive protection agent. Hear me? Larry Penton, you are on stage. No audio, buddy.
What's going on?
All right. You got your mic on?
Hey, what's going on? Let me turn off this IG real quick. All right. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me? Testing. Testing. Can you hear me?
All right, Larry. We're just waiting on Larry Penton. All right, so I'm gonna just pop over on Instagram. Any questions? Any comments? Anything y'all want to see? Anything?
Testing. Testing.
No. All right, so let's give a shout out to some of my students, colleagues. One of my man. Okay, Mitch Bullock. Mitch Bullock. We've been friends for over 20 years now. We started working with low-level celebrities. Mitch has worked with Beyonce, Pitbull, Ariana Grande, and the list goes on. And I know I'm just shorting him on names, but Mitch can tell you exactly who he is and what he does. So shout out to Mitch. Mitch, if you're not following Mitch, he probably won't follow you back. He's not a big social media guy, but it's Bullock's Firearm Training. Also, Josh Williams. Josh, I want to talk to you too. Josh, I think he just got named as the head firearm person. He's a Prince George's County, Maryland police officer. He just got named by the White House as a head tactical firearm instructor or something like that. I want to talk, also kind of acknowledge him. I saw Bungie Adams on. Again, Dex is on. Imperial Mark is on. A lot of my good friends are on here. All right. Simply Kimmy, Kim Smith. She's been working with me for about 20 years. We've been friends about 20 years. Who else is on here? All right. Got a bunch of people on here. So my man Gunner, Reggie Coswell, Gunner Detail. If you're not following him, follow him. We've done a lot of work together. The Blackstone, my man, Jerron. Good to see you, my friend. So I got a lot of people on here who follow me. Mo Rich, East Coast Badger. All right. Good to see you guys. Listen, if you have any, especially you guys who are working in executive protection, if you have any comments, make sure that you jump on and chime in on this thing. All right, Larry, let me hear you, baby.
Testing. 1, 2. Can you hear me?
They can hear you, but I can't.
Oh.
You know, I saw that I was having some kind of technical difficulties with the sound and here, but I can hear it in my ear because I'm working on a podcast thing over here. So all of my sound is coming through my ears, but I can't hear you at all. Let me see if there's something that I can do. Mute your mic, but that's not it. I'm being honest with you. I don't know what to do, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you talk, and I'm gonna try to listen to it some other way. I'll figure it out.
So greetings, everybody. My name is Larry Penton. Everybody just calls me LP for short. I am a retired paramedic and firefighter from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I was born and raised, worked in practice. I got into EMS in 2007 and fired in 2019. Most of my experiences on the EMS side. All of my work was done in the metro St. Louis, Missouri area. I worked for a private EMS service, and I also worked for a paid fire protection district in the St. Louis metro area. I retired in 2020 during the pandemic as a COVID fire medic. Number of my experience has been on the EMS side in terms of critical care, transportation. I worked on the critical care team for the EMS service I worked for. Some of the things that I have experience in is on the tactical EMS side as a consultant with my company, which is called Penton Pending Consulting Solutions, LLC. When I retired in 2020, I relocated from St. Louis to the Charlotte, North Carolina area and started a company with my wife, who's the president and the CFO of the company. It's called Penton Pending Consulting Solutions, LLC. Two things that we do. One is emergency medical training. So I do all of that due to all the certifications and the licenses that I have. And so I'm certified to teach BLS or basic life support, stop the bleed, and I have other certifications that help me to teach these classes through other organizations. So through the Red Cross, through the American Heart Association, through the American Health and Safety Institute, StopTheBleed.org, and the Stop the Bleed Coalition, and a number of other organizing bodies. So what we do also is not only emergency medical training, but we also do business consulting. And so I linked up with Melvin, and what we do is when he has his School of Executive Protection course, we partner with him to teach the emergency medical training for these students that are in the class. And so my goal is to help each executive protection professional be aware that you're not just guarding the principal. You have to deal with any emergency, and I'm talking specifically medical emergency, because I say it's not a matter of if, but when and where an emergency is going to happen. And what are you prepared to do in that situation? You're not just guarding that principal, you're guarding whoever that principal has with him or her. It could be an intimate partner, it could be a child or children, it could be their personal assistant, their entourage, or whomever. Where we focus on is, what do you do if one or more of those people get hurt, injured, dying, or dead? And so when the story about the assassination of the UHC CEO came out, I hit Melvin up right away. I was like, hey, I know you're seeing this story. And we talked on the phone last night for a while, he, myself, and my wife, about some of the things that we've been doing research on about this story, because it really goes hand in hand into the conversation from the EP side and the medical side. So I want to speak from the medical perspective. One of the things that I talk to Melvin and his students about is being prepared medically for the job. Melvin, you talked about it earlier when you were saying, what hospitals do we go to in one of these emergency situations? Do we go to a level 1 hospital? Do we go to a rural hospital? What's the difference between a level 1 hospital and a level 4 hospital? Some people, and a lot of people I talk to, don't even know that there's levels 2 medical facilities. Technically, we don't call it the emergency room. We call it the emergency department. So if you hear me say ED, I'm not talking about the other ED. I'm talking about the emergency room. And one of the things that we also add to not just the class that I do when I'm talking to the EP pros, we bring in a lot of equipment. So behind me, if you're watching, you'll see one of my mannequins. You also see a first aid kit. Okay. You'll also see a bleeding control kit. These two are first aid kits, but one does one thing and one does another thing very specifically. So for the first aid kit, If you look at my first aid kit, it says this is for cuts and scrapes, minor burns, itch relief, pain relief, skin rashes, and insect bites. So if I got one of these injuries, please grab this. But if I have a major trauma where I'm bleeding out, you're gonna have to grab this other first aid kit. This is called an IFAC. It stands for Individual First Aid Kit. And inside of here, you got specialized stuff, because in the regular first aid kit or the boo-boo box, you got Band-Aids and Neosporin and Tylenol and Bengay. Okay, that's great for those minor injuries. But if I'm shot, like my mannequin here, if I'm shot in the box, as we call it, so from neck to navel, all the way around, that's the box. If I'm shot or stabbed anywhere in that area, you can't put a tourniquet on that part of the body. You can't pack anything in that hole or in that knife wound. So my mannequin has what's called a chest seal on this injury. And in your IFAC, you have items like chest seals. You also have tourniquets. Tourniquets only go on the limbs. They only go on the arms and the legs. Chest seals, we call it seal in the box, okay? Because you can't pack anything in the box. You have to seal it. So there's multiple types of chest seals, and we talk about that in Melvin's class. We talk about the difference between a vented chest seal and a non-vented chest seal. We talk about the difference between, there are different types of tourniquets. We talk about wound packing. There's specific gauzes that you can buy that come in your IFAC or your bleeding control kit that have impregnated gauzes on them. An impregnated gauze feels like an unused dryer sheet that you just took out of the dryer sheet box. And on that dryer sheet, you have that substance. Well, in certain gauzes, you have that substance that as you're packing that wound, it will start the clotting process, or to start turning those blood cells into a gelatinous substance to help facilitate the process of that person to stop bleeding. And so with the CEO, I don't know where all he was shot, but I presume some of those shots were head shots, and maybe some of them were shots in the torso, like my mannequin. Well, how, if you are that close protection agent that Melvin was talking about, what do you do when you have your principal that's shot in that head? What do you do if they're shot in that neck or that junctional area? What do you do with that principal if they're shot in the box? What if they're shot in the arm or the leg? How do you deal with that situation? If you have one of those injuries, especially in the neck or in the box area or in the arm, like my arm trainer here, this first aid boo-boo box may not be enough for you. You're going to need to have a bleeding control kit. Well, if you have none of these and all you have is your firearm on you, what do you do to stop that bleeding? Because you're going to have to know what to do in that situation. The average person who has a major trauma can bleed out in as short as 3 to 5 minutes. The average EMS response time in an urban environment is about 7 to 15 minutes. So you're already behind the 8 ball. You become not just that person's close protection person or their EP, you become now the immediate responder until the first responders show up. Well, if you got an 8 to 15 minute window until the people with the ambulance or the fire department shows up with all of this medical equipment, what are you going to do in that time to keep that person from bleeding out? You can't grab a cup and be like, hey, I'm going to scoop all that blood up that came out of this person and I'm going to pour it back in that wound, because we don't bleed in, we bleed out. So you got to know how to stop the bleed. I got another question. What if that person is bleeding out and they go into cardiac arrest, meaning that their heart stopped beating or it's beating erratically to the point where it's just shaking or quivering? That's what we call V-field. Now, what do? Well, they need chest compressions, but they're bleeding out. So what do you do first? Do you stop the bleed? or do you do chest compressions? That's a major question, because anybody that says do CPR first, that person is going to die 100% of the time. Why? Because you got to stop the bleeding. Your blood is the equivalent to your engine's oil. Your body is your engine. And what happens when your car engine gets too low on oil? It locks up. You need a whole nother engine. Same principle applies to the body. If you bleed out, you're gonna die. There is no ands, ifs, or buts unless you get that bleeding under control. And so if you do CPR on that person first, the function of CPR is to start resuscitative measures, because your heart is not beating like it's supposed to. Your heart empties and refills with each beat. And so in the process of that, if you got a major hole in your body like this, or this is missing because of an injury, or you got shot in the box and you're spouting out blood because it's an arterial bleed or it's pouring out, like this cup that I have in my hand is about 12 ounces. If I pour half of this out, half of the liquid out in here, that's a lot of blood loss. And your body has about 4 to 5 liters of blood. Every liter that you lose, your body's going to start doing some things to try to compensate for that blood loss. You're going to get weaker. You're going to get tired. You're going to start losing your faculties, and start in terms of you're going to start speaking slower. Your mind is going to not react as quick. And so if you got an EP person who does not have the medical training, you don't have to be a medic or an EMT, but if they don't have basic life support and first aid skills, you might lose that principle, which is counterproductive in your career. Like, this is your job. So Melvin brings in me to teach the EP students, how do you deal with these life-threatening injuries? And so with the CEO of United Healthcare, and we've been looking at a lot of these stories, we were talking about that. It's very important that not just EP pros, I recommend everybody take a first aid, a CPR, a stop the bleed class, because I say it's not a matter of if, but when and where an emergency is going to happen. And it's going to happen. I get breaking news stories every single day, all day long. Like Melvin was talking about how his phone is blowing up. I get breaking news stories every single day because, in part of my medical experience and my security clearance, because I teach classes with like DHS, Homeland Security, and they bring me in because of my expertise on teaching their agents how to do CPR, how to do stop the bleed, how to do these life-saving measures. And so when we have these conversations about security for VIPs, whether they're CEOs, whether they're celebrities or whatnot, you can't think that, oh, all I need to know is how to aim and shoot. All I need to know how to do is to put somebody in the car. All I need to know how to do is drive this, be this executive chauffeur. Well, those things are great. You may get that principal in the car and look and see all this blood. And you're like, what happened? Oh, man, this person got shot. Go to the hospital. Well, what hospital are we going to? You know, if one of the questions I'll ask is, if you have your principal who got shot in the chest, okay, let's say they got shot in the box, okay? So from the neck to the navel, all the way around is the box, okay? We're not talking about in the arms or in the neck or in the head or in the legs. We're just talking about the box. You got a person that's shot in the box and they're bleeding out profusely. You see the blood just pouring out. And you are 5 minutes away from a level 3 hospital, and you're 10 minutes to 12 minutes away from a level 1 hospital. What hospital should you go to? I'm telling you, take the extra few minutes to go to the level 1 hospital, because the level 3 hospital can do the basics in terms of some basic stop the bleeding. They can do some basic and some life-saving measures. But if that injury is really bad to where they need an internal GI surgeon, that level 3 hospital is not going to be equipped for that surgery. So they're going to either have to fly that person out, which takes more time, a whole lot more money, and that could put that person at risk of being living or permanently injured. So take the extra few minutes to go to the level 1 hospital, because everybody and their mama is going to be at that level 1 hospital. All the doctors, all the surgeons, all the specialists, all the equipment, everything that they need is going to be there, because that level 3 hospital, I'm telling you, you bring a person in with an injury in the box, that person is going to a level 1 hospital. Okay, they're going to do whatever they can to patch that person up and stop the bleeding as much as possible. And they already either calling a medical evac helicopter or a ground ambulance that's going to come and take that person from their hospital to a level 1 facility. Why waste time when you could have just spent the extra 6 to 10 minutes to go to a level 1 hospital? So these are things that we talk about in these classes when it comes to decision making, because part of your advanced work as an EP pro is I need to know all of the hospitals in the area where I'm going to be with this principal. If my principal is like in this situation with the CEO, he's going to a conference in New York. Well, I'll tell you what, if you download the American Red Cross, they have a free mobile app. It's called First Aid mobile app. And it doesn't matter if you have an iPhone or an Android, it's free. It's not written in a bunch of medical jargon. It tells you everything that you need to do for any medical situation from A to Z. And it has an emergency medical facility finder. So if you've never been to New York and something happens medically, you can pull up that app and it'll tell you every hospital in that area from a level 1 to a level 4, which is typically a rural hospital, that you can go to. That's for anywhere in the United States. You can use this app. So these are some of the things that we talk about for the EP professionals when it comes to doing the advanced work, because your advanced work can make a huge difference in that principal's or their loved ones or their entourage. It can make the difference between the quality of life in up into and including life and death decisions that you make, because you're the immediate responder as the EP person. You're the close protection professional. If they get a splinter to them going into cardiac arrest, who are they going to look at? Are they going to look at each other, or are they going to look at the person who's guarding them? They're going to look at the person that's guarding them. That person needs to have all of the equipment. They need to, depending on the number of people that is under their watch, you may need to have a number of these bleeding control kits. You may need to have a number of these first aid kits. How many people can you help that are hurt or injured with just a first aid kit like this? I got this from Walmart. It was, I think, $12. You know what? Everything in this first aid kit has not been used. Everything in the first aid kit has an expiration date. We talk about that. Melvin, when this first aid kit expired, and I've never used anything in here. The expiration date is September the 30th, 2019. Okay, I've never used anything in here. If I open this up, everything looks brand new. Nothing's looking cruddy or old looking or molded or yellowish or anything like that. But everything in here expires September the 30th, 2019. That's important, because if you need some aspirin and it's Tylenol in here, well, it's expired. It's not going to do anything for that person who's having some pain or what have you. Same thing for your bleeding control kits. Everything in here has an expiration date. So there's no medications in there, and then you can add stuff to it. But, with your IFAC, primarily you're going to have a tourniquet. You should have 2, because 2 is 1 and 1 is none. What if you get shot and your principal gets shot and you both need a tourniquet? You can't be like, hey, I'm going to put the tourniquet on you for a few minutes, and then I'm going to take it off and put it on me, and we're going to do like a button. No, it don't work like that. This ain't like the SEALs where they buddy breathe sharing the SCBA oxygen mask. 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So all of my tourniquets or all of my IFACs that I sell, I make mine customized where all of my IFACs have 2 tourniquets. Okay, I'm going to show you. Here's one Here's the other one on the other side of it. They have chest seals, like my mannequin here. They have hemostatic gauzes. These are the ones that I said are impregnated. This is called quick clot. And what it does, like I said, it turns into like a gelatinous substance when it makes contact with those red blood cells. The chest seals that I talked about is what you saw on that mannequin. I put burn dressing in my IFAC just in case of burns, up to a 2nd degree burn. You need to know the difference in the type of burns. You can't put oil and butter and Vaseline and stuff like that on burns. You got to know how to cool a burn. You got to know how to dress a burn. So it's a bunch of things like that we talk about. There's a number of other things that come to your IFAC that are not in your first aid kit. So there's a thing called an Israeli bandage or an emergency trauma dressing. It looks like a big ace bandage with a big square sterile white pad on it. You can use that to wrap up big injuries. You got to know how to use those things. I carry Narcan in my IFAC, or the medical term is called naloxone, but it's an opioid overdose kit. So if you have principals that use drugs, and I'm a very bluntly honest person. I'm not going to give you some metaphysical conversations. I'm not going to be like, oh, this person is sent it to the stars because they're not alive anymore. I'm going to say this person died. Here's what we think happened. Here's the resuscitative methods that we use to attempt to stop the bleeding, to resuscitate this person. And, in spite of everything that we did and all the training that we have, that person may not make it. And one, you got to be able to say that to people. You can't give people any sense of false hope because you got all these certifications and licenses and all of these things. You got to be able to have real talk, because if you say, oh, everything's going to be okay, I'm going to make sure that this person makes it. Well, here's a piece of paper and a pen, write down the lottery numbers that I should go to use to buy the next ticket. Because if you can predict the future, you're in the wrong business. And so when we talk about opioids, those are things that we say you got to be prepared for. But I'm going to go back to the shooting. So you got to know how to use a chest seal and what it's for. And if you're not trained on that, and you just buy one of these bleeding control kits off of Amazon or any other site that sells them, you're not going to know what you're doing with this stuff. Some of them will come with instructions on, hey, here's how to put this tourniquet on, or here's how to do such and such. But in an emergency situation, for those that are looking at the screen, I got my hand stretched out like a diving board. Now, my hand doesn't tremor, it doesn't shake, it doesn't fluctuate when I'm dealing with emergency situations. But in my heart, it's probably at a 9.9 magnitude earthquake, because I'm a human being. In an emergency situation, my adrenaline goes from 0 to 100. But mentally, I got to be solid as a rock, because otherwise I'm going to miss something. Just like that EP professional has to be solid like a rock. All the noise that's going on, all of the distractions. Everybody has their phone now. Everybody's taking pictures and uploading stuff. And you got surveillance cameras everywhere watching everything that's going on. You got people that might be on the scene critiquing you or trying to stop you or interfering with what you're doing and all of these things. So from a medical perspective, how do you deal with that? Because you're a human being too. Even if you're armed or unarmed, you are a human being just like that person that you are guarding who's hurt, injured, dying, or dead. How do you maintain that calmness? Because I used to tell people I have to be the eye in the hurricane of your emergency as a paramedic, as a firefighter. I got to be the eye in the hurricane of your emergency when dealing with an emergency situation. That's one of the pillars of being an EP professional. And so when you're dealing with that on top of an emergency situation where somebody's bleeding out, and maybe Mr. Thomas, who was shot and killed, maybe his injuries, it wouldn't have mattered what they did medically speaking. But we don't know that, because who was there to provide any medical aid? I didn't see anybody provide any medical aid in the video. Melvin, did you see anybody on any videos that you seen on scene? Where was his EP crew? Nobody.
Yeah,
I mean,
nobody.
it looked only people that showed up was EMS at some point. How long did that take? From the time that the last bullet entered his body until EMS showed up, what was the time span? And what was done to that person? Did he just lay there and bleed out, basically? What could have been done to that person? Where all was he shot? Was it a through and through? Was it in the box only? Was it in the head? Was it in the arms or the legs? How many times did he get shot? Where all did he get shot? Was it a through and through? So these are conversations that we have when we are teaching the medical component of executive protection. Because I tell you what, those EP professionals probably going to get sued. You know, this is a very litigious society. And what do most people do if they can't get justice in the courtroom on a criminal level? They're going to go to civil court, because the amount of you don't need more than a reasonable doubt in civil court. You just need to win by preponderance of the evidence. So if you got 51% more evidence, you're going to win that case compared to a criminal trial where you got to have all 12 jurors say guilty or not guilty, or if it's a trial by judge only, that judge has to say yay or nay. So we're talking about how do you protect yourself also from civil liabilities? Well, being trained in CPR, being trained in stop the bleed, being trained in first aid measures, being trained on run, hide, fight. So we talk about active shooter situations where 3 or more people are critically injured. We call that a mass casualty incident. So an active shooter hostile event is something that we talk about really ad nauseum in these classes, because that could be a situation also. But I want to say something to everybody. Every situation that you see in these breaking news stories does not involve a firearm. 11 years ago, what happened in Boston? It was the Boston Marathon explosion. There was no firearm, okay? Those people that were hurt, injured, dying, and dead were hurt, injured, and dying and dead because of an explosive device. What happened 2 years ago at the University of Idaho when those 4 students got killed? There was no firearm. There was no explosive. It was a sharp-edged weapon, okay? So what happened at Travis Scott's concert a couple of years ago, and we covered that. My friend Dexter Doc Piggins and Professor Griff on his Serious Minds channel, we talked about that. And none of those people that were hurt, injured, especially the ones that died, it was like over 10 people that died, no firearms, no weapons at all. They got crushed to death. And so there was a nurse that was there that was interviewed by a lot of the media that was saying that she got crushed. She passed out a couple of times. And when she woke up, they were in a back area and there were many people that were laid out, and there were security guards doing CPR on them. But she said every one of them was doing it incorrect. And she would have to move them and go from one person, showing them how to do CPR. And then she went to the next person, showing them how to do CPR. That's bananas. That is absolutely bananas. And so who's on the hook for that? Because I guarantee you those cases are still ongoing for that Travis Scott thing. And so with this CEO that got shot, I just saw an article that that talked about the healthcare industry is rethinking the risk after the murder of that CEO. And one of the things that they talked about is they said that before the shooting, most risk assessment efforts were conducted for medical practices and other healthcare providers. And they were saying that the rising demand for protection in hospitals and in healthcare facilities is in line with most of these customer-facing industries. And they were saying that assessing the risk involves searching social media and trying to determine where the threats have been made and the circumstances regarding the public. There's a lot of CEOs. There was another article that just came out today, Melvin, where it was saying all of these CEOs are going and taking their profile information offline because they don't, it's like they're whitewashing these CEOs. You know, they might have a name of the CEO, but they're not putting any other information on there because they are scared and they are really panicking right now because so many CEOs are under fire, for lack of a better term, no pun intended, because like this guy, every comment that we've read in the last 2 days from the public on social media, I saw one that said, I guess that he wasn't safe from being an outpatient resident or something like that. It's all kind of comments, you know. It's not too bad. I don't feel any sympathy for him because he denied my son or my loved one specific medical care and all that stuff. I mean, we were talking last night and I said, I'd be surprised if this, you know, when this goes to court, if they find this person and it goes to court, I'd be very surprised if this person gets found guilty. They either, and this is just my opinion, they may either be found, it might be a jury nullification, or they might not find a jury that's going to be willing to really give this person a fair trial, because typically what you'll see when they move cases to like a rural area or something like that, because where it happened, too many people have their opinions about it, so they'll try to have it somewhere where they feel like it's not going to be clouded in terms of the judgment. Well, everybody needs medical care. Everybody needs medical insurance. And all of these comments that I've seen, nobody has said, oh, we feel so bad about this guy getting killed. Nobody, I haven't seen not one comment where he has gotten any sympathy whatsoever, just like a lot of these other CEOs of these healthcare insurance companies. So I want to pass the mic back over to you because I know I've been talking for a cool minute.
Okay, no, that's cool. Hey, you know what? Thank you for thank you for that. What I'm glad that you mentioned about the CEOs and the executives taking their information offline. Did we mute you again?
No, I did that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm glad that you said that, because here I've had people who show up at some of my clients' houses, their homes, right? These YouTube.
No, I was just saying I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at all these stories because they're still coming in. Like I'm still filtering all these stories that are coming in as you talk.
Okay. So, and again, a lot of people think they're regular people, so they don't have a bunch of security measures. Yeah. You're muted again, my man. You're muted again.
Test.
You muted. Go ahead.
Testing.
I can hear you. I can hear you. But
I wasn't saying anything.
Okay, maybe it's a delay, so I'm kind of seeing you moving your hands and talking. So it looks like there's a delay in the maybe a lag in the in the whatever. There's a lag. Okay, so what I am actually seeing, I've had people to show up at some of my clients' houses. I've had this conversation with them before. A lot of these corporate executives are Googleable, if that's a word. Can I say Googleable? Okay, I see what's going on. A lot of them are, you can just Google their names and addresses. I mean, you can just Google their names and you will find out where they live at. So one of the things that I recommend for you guys who work on those corporate security teams, who work on some of those corporate security teams, is to start to scrub the internet for your executives' information, their home information, and get that off of do whatever. If you have to pay for the service, I don't care how much it costs. Let's get their information off of the internet, because it's just as simple as that. I'm certain if I do enough research, probably in about the next 5 or 10 minutes, if I get off of here, that I can find Brian Thompson's address, right? And also these public events, when the people when let's just say this, when I told you that, like, what we do, the executive protection stuff, the movement and all of that good stuff, that's only like a very small percentage of what we do to protect the executive. So when we're moving, but the biggest part is the research, planning and research. And just like we're planning and researching, our opposition is planning and researching as well. So they're doing the internet searches. They're going to the company's websites. They're looking at who's on the board, who's the CEO, who's the CFO, who's the COO, and they're taking that information. And if there's an event, okay, we know that there's an investors event. I don't even know if there was notification that there would be an investors event on United Healthcare Care's website. And so they're doing their planning and research, and they're setting up. They're doing their recon, pre-con, recon, whatever you want to call it. And so the security professional, the executive protection agent, not only has to be one step ahead, we need to be 100 steps ahead. And so it's going to be important that you do your planning and your research as well. And one of the things is searching social media. If there's an event, see what people are saying. See, or regular scrubbing the internet to see what people are saying about the company. In this case, if you're working security for a corporation, you need to be in tune with what is the shares of the company, what is the stock, what is this trading at? Is it up? Is it down? A lot of people will get pissed off about that. I worked in shareholders meetings where people have come in to, have invested a lot of money in corporations, are now completely pissed off that they've lost money or the stock has fallen from the higher levels, and then they want to confront the executives of the company. So they're researching, they're coming to these meetings, and they're going to be heard, and in this case they're going to be seen, and they're going to be felt. And of course, we not only does United Healthcare feel the impact, all of us in the security industry have felt the impact too, because this is the thing. These are the things that we have been preaching for a long time. So that is, so that's a little bit of my rant, and I'm ready to take any questions. I'm ready to take any questions that you all may have regarding this incident, how we could have prevented it. I think we covered all of that. Something really simple as having a 3-man executive protection team, an advanced guy, not using transportation car service unless that is a secure transportation car service. Over here at MVP, we have armored vehicles. We have an armored Maybach. We have a couple of armored Escalades. And inauguration is coming, so that's big for us. And a lot of you all who have taken my EP class, like I said, you may see some of the pictures or stuff with me with some of your classmates. Doesn't mean that you won't work with me. Just means that I haven't got to you yet. I have a lot of people that come through these classes. Some classes 15, some 20, some 10. But a lot of people come through these classes, and a lot of people have come before you. And I want to add this caveat: just because you come to a class doesn't necessarily mean that that you're going to get a job opportunity with me. Just like everybody that goes to college and plays on a football team or the basketball team doesn't make it to the NBA. They don't make it to the NFL. Everybody that goes to college, in fact, about 85 or 82% of the people that go to college never get a job in the degree that they went to college for. So I want you guys to keep that in mind, okay? Okay, Larry, it's back on. Let me bring it back on. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a job. So when I'm telling you, when you come to these classes, I am doing a job interview, and you have no idea what my requirements what my requirements are, what I'm looking for. But I am looking for something because, again, we work with the top level, some of the top level people, not only in the country but in the world. And if I'm going to assign somebody onto a team or a detail or to work with a principal, I want to make sure that not only are we protecting that principal or that corporation or that organization, I'm also making sure that I protect my brand. So, if you apply yourself in this industry, you can go a long way. But some of the things that you're going to need to do is, number one, you're going to need to take an executive protection class. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I would love to say, come to my class. I think I'm the best in the world, but I'm hesitant about putting that out there. But what I would say is that we're the fastest growing executive protection school in the world. I can say that. And there's a reason why we're the fastest growing executive protection school in the world. And I can say that. And you can take it from there. But you're going to need executive protection certification. If you're going to go to a school, check out all the schools. When you're checking out schools or companies, I always tell people, especially you guys who have security companies, when people are searching for security companies, it's cool. We see your home page, we see your about page, we see your services page, and contact us. That's what kind of like the 4 links that are on the page. The most important page on there, forget the services. The most important page on your website is the About Us page, right? And they're not really looking about the company. That's cool. Yeah, the company's been in business for 10 years, whatever. You provide executive protection, security guard services, transportation, and all of that good stuff. That really means nothing to them. What the people that come to your website are looking for is about the leadership of the company. They want to know about the CEO. What's his experience? What's the CFO experience? Where they've been, what they've done. And that's where you need to put your most concentration on your About Us page. Let them know that your brand, what they're buying, is actually has value, and it's worth spending their money on. Okay, so just think about that. Hey, Tony Lee, she said about us. That is what that's what it's really about. I've been on a rant. This thing is going on for almost 2 hours. I hope you guys have learned a lot. I do want to take questions. And I want to thank Larry for being on, because what Larry said is essential. Um, training, Let's talk about the certifications, EP training, medical training is very important, because we just did a detail recently, and when we're talking about advanced work, and these some of the best people in the world. So we were doing an assignment, and I asked the team. I said, okay, so have you guys done the run the routes for the hospitals? And one of the team members says, yeah. Team member B did that. Well, I'm not gonna say their name. I mean, they're sharp people. And I said that's great that team number B did the advanced work. But what if team number B is the person who takes the bullet, right? So what if that's the person that goes down? Who else knows how to get to the hospital? The wheels started to turn and say, okay, yeah, we all need to know how to get to the hospital. So those driver certifications, medical certifications, EP certifications, those things are important. Then you can worry about the firearm stuff later. My slogan is, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And so having a concealed carry permit, training, not only the permit, but the training, or if it's an armed guard license or whatever it is in your state, your city, having that is essential, right? That is essential, because you don't want but it's not as essential as the rest of the stuff, because you don't want to miss an opportunity as well. So lately here, with all of the crazy stuff going on, I have been getting a lot of calls for armed security or armed executive protection. So that is on the rise. And I do believe that you should have that certification, right? Another certification you should have is investigative certification, like a private detective or private investigator in your state, because a lot of things that will come up. For example, let's say this guy, whoever shot Brian Thompson, if he was on a radar, we would simply just, okay, he came up, here's his email, okay, here's his Facebook, here's his Instagram, this is Twitter, this is what he's saying on Twitter. Okay, let's go ahead and dig a little bit deeper. And being a private investigator gives you some resources that other people don't have. So just a guy working at the club, or somebody who started a security company and they're a security manager, but they don't have access to the information that a private detective would. So for example, a detail we did in New Orleans, we had a person who sent several threats, kind of like the day that we touched down, because they knew that this event was going to be going on in the state. And so Everybody in the C-suite was kind of in an uproar. Everything got tight to a pucker. So what we did was we just we said, okay, give us the information. They gave us the information. Within minutes. We had the person's car, where they work at, where they live at, what color it was, what their wife's name, what their spouse's name was, if they had any firearm permits, what kind of licenses they had in that state. And not only that, we had one of the guys on my team, because I try to bring those level of people in. I have my private detective stuff, but as the team leader, I'm kind of moving a whole bunch of other things. So it's better to sort that out to one of my team members. So the guy that we had, Marcel Centino, he worked with us. He actually came to our class last year, and he was on that detail. So Marcel, A+ Investigations up in Philly, in Pennsylvania, he is certified. And I said, Marcel, I need this. Within minutes, Marcel had that information. Also, Marcel had a tracker on him. So what we did was go around and go to that person's house and put a tracker on their car. So when that car moved, we already knew. And if it came to where we were, we knew to be on high alert. Also, we had pictures of those people, and we were able to say, get those to the team members and say, this is what we're looking for. So having those certifications are essential. Guys, please, if you're just doing this job with no training, I'm assuming if you have no executive protection training, you have no stop the bleed training and some other things. But we want to be in a proactive, as executive protection agents, we want to be in a proactive state, not a reactive state, because our job is to prevent, not respond. All right, so any questions? If y'all don't have any questions, I'm going to bring Larry back on for closing words. And we're going to jump off of this thing, and then I'm going to tell you guys couple of things that you need to know upcoming for MVP. The MVP, we have an exclusive agreement with BMW, the BMW School of Performance, the driving school of performance driving school, correction, down in Charleston, South Carolina. We have the only exclusive agreement with BMW to train executive chauffeurs. So we have the right to train on their track in California, Thermal, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, which will be our first class and for this year, for 2025, April of 2025. You can find it on our website. You can register now. The other thing is and also they have a new track in Indiana, so we can train on any of those tracks. And what we're trying to do, I say you can go to any driving school, right? But if it's a basic driving school, it's exactly what it says. It teaches how to accelerate hard and accelerate fast and brake hard. It doesn't teach you the nuances that you need to know to work with high-level executives, right? And those are the soft skills and the things that you need to know about protecting executives on another level. So if tap in, I'll put it here. Matter of fact, I'll just go over here and copy the link, and you can check out the website yourself. And I would ask you to just go in there and sign up for a class, man. The more it's like Batman. The more stuff you got on your belt, the more resources you have on the belt, the more that you can do, right? And when you take yourself serious, other people will take you serious as well. So so yeah, other people will take you serious as well. So I'm gonna put that in here. Just go to here for security training in the executive protection class and the executive chauffeur class. I'll post them both here, and you guys can check them out. The next class for executive protection, I'm only probably going to do a few this year. We have like 5 listed. The one in Miami is going to be an advanced class. It's going to be about 12 days long. And that one will come with all of the shooting and a whole bunch of other stuff, because you're going to need to, you will want to be in that class. It's going to be expensive, but you will want to be in that class. And we're not going to do advanced class once a year. The other classes are going to be introduction to executive protection classes. But I can assure you, even this introduction class will give you more than enough, more than most people, more skills than most people who've been working executive protection for years already have. So both of those links are there. I love to see you guys in those classes, and let's become more professional, because again, the more stuff you got on your belt, the more reasons for guys like myself and other people who are on this what is this podcast, whatever, that we're watching this, and other people with security company owners that I actually see on here, the more reason they will have to, when they pick up that phone, to dial your number. All right. So those are the two classes. They're over here in the comments. Make sure you check them out. Okay, that's Larry right there. Yeah, make sure you check them out. And if you guys don't have any question, nobody wants to come on, nobody wants to come on screen, and nobody wants to talk about anything, I'm going to tap out. It's been wow, Larry. It's been almost 3 hours since we've been on this thing. 2:30, I think we started. 2:45, so that's 2 hours just since we've been on here. So thank you all for watching. If you have any questions for me, I'll also put my direct email down here. If you call me, you probably will never get me on the phone. I only answer the phone for my children, a few other people that are close to me. Because most of the time I'm busy, and when I'm not busy, guess what I'm doing? I'm chilling, man, because I'm busy all the damn time. I'm just trying to be home, and when I get that done here, I'm gonna wrap up in here, and I'm gonna go downstairs and play the drums. You see, that's my thing over there. That's what I do. I got a keyboard over there, I got a bass guitar over there, I got an acoustic guitar over there. I used to have an electric drum set in this room, but I sold that. I'm gonna get another one. But I have down in my garage, I have a nice set. I love my set, man. So I'm just go down there and make some noise and disturb some people, even though my neighbors are kind of far away.
I just want to add, just in closing, that again, it's not a matter of if, but when and where an emergency is going to happen, and what are you going to do in that situation? Whether you're an EP person, but specifically since we're talking about EP, you have to be the eye in the hurricane of that principal's emergency. And if you're not only being responsible in that situation with the United Healthcare CEO, he was by himself. What if he was with his wife because he's married? What if he was with other colleagues? What if he was with, members of his C-suite or somebody else in the public? Would they have been a target also? Would it have been something where, well, I'm going to eliminate all these potential witnesses? Maybe that person would have only gone after that individual. You have no idea of how that scenario is going to go down. And the fact that he had EP protection, but they weren't right surrounding him, is why we're talking today. What would have needed to happen to keep him at minimum safer? We're all vulnerable. Anybody can get it. We've seen throughout the history of mankind assassinations. You brought up a question earlier, and you talked about when was the last time we saw something like this. There's been a number of CEOs that have been assassinated, and some that have been attempted assassinations. The president-elect, 2 assassination attempts. Last time that happened was with Ronald Reagan. He didn't get struck, but members of his team got struck. The last president who was assassinated was JFK in November 22nd, 1963. And so anybody can get it. We have to be aware that anybody can get it at any time, no matter how much protection you have or don't have. And if you don't die from those injuries, because you may die instantly from those injuries, no matter what equipment you have, like a bleeding control kit. What I'm saying and what Melvin is saying is that you got to be, if you fail to plan to fail. So it's not enough just to have your EP cert. It's not enough to be licensed as a LEO, a law enforcement officer. You need some medical training. All paramedics are EMTs, but not all EMTs are paramedics. So me being a paramedic, I don't go into Melvin's class and say, hey, I want to teach you how to do sutures and IVs. That's not part of the class at all. This is not that. This is basic life support training that anybody can take. My nephew, who lives with us now, who's 17, His school requires all seniors. He's a senior now. His school requires all seniors to be certified in CPR. So he just sent me a picture and a video of the CPR training that he had to partake in today. Bravo. Okay. I applaud that school, and I believe every school, not just the seniors, I believe from elementary all the way to post-secondary should be required to teach and train those students. I believe every business. Now, I know a lot of people are working virtually now, but every brick and mortar business, whether it's a McDonald's to a Apple or Amazon or something like that. I've taught at LinkedIn headquarters before. They flew myself and Doc out a couple of years ago, and we trained all of their executive protection. That's when I first found out about executive protection. That was almost 3 years ago now. That was the first time I had ever even heard of the words executive protection. They had all of their top EP pros at LinkedIn headquarters in Sunnyvale, California, in Silicon Valley, and we trained them on Stop the Bleed. It was an all-day training. And so it just opened my eyes to the world of EP and how this career, you need this training because, again, it's not a matter of if, but when and where a medical emergency is going to happen. Because you become the immediate responder and you become the immediate medical emergency responder until the first responders show up. What if you're somewhere in the UK and your principal gets hurt? Do you know where those medical facilities are? Are you carrying that stuff? What restrictions do you have on certain equipment? Because I can get on the plane with my IFAC, but I can't have any sharps in here. I got to put them in my carry-on. I mean, in my check bag. So if I have a knife in here, a pocket knife. You know, I can carry my medical trauma shears. I can put them in my pocket. I can go through the TSA with no problem. But if I try to get my knife through here, it's not going to happen. I have to put it in my check bag. You need to know these things. What if your client has other issues medically speaking? What if they're diabetic? What if they have asthma? What if they have severe allergies and they need to carry an EpiPen? If they're diabetic, all diabetics don't have the same type of insulin. Some of their insulin has to be refrigerated. So we talk about this in the class that Melvin teaches. So if you want to learn more, please click on the link and join the class. These classes are all throughout the country, whether it's in the DC area, whether it's in Miami. You know, we're going to have a class in Vegas in 2025. We're going to have a class in New York City. You know, speaking of New York, this is where this CEO was assassinated. So it's apropos that we go to New York because we're going to do our own type of advanced work. Melvin does a lot of work in the 5 boroughs anyway, so he knows that area like the back of his hand. So we just want people to understand that all of these components have a symbiotic relationship. The medical component and the EP component, you can't have one without the other. So if you are in executive protection and you have not had a Stop the Bleed or a CPR class or any type of first aid training, you need to contact us. We'll travel. You know, I travel. I have my own company. I travel all across the U.S. teaching this stuff. So if you need it, we're going to provide it for you. LP out. Unmute yourself, Melvin. Take yourself off mute.
All right, good. There we go. My man, LP, you are the man. I appreciate that, man. Those things are definitely that people definitely need to hear. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. And again, this has been a crazy year for me. I know you all were used to seeing me doing lives and stuff on Instagram, but I've been doing live in real life and about 200 and over a little over 260 days this year. I'm finally home. I'm happy to be home. I got leaves to blow outside. I got to walk my dogs. You know, I got to go to the gym. I haven't been to the gym. I go to hotels and I can sleep right. I can have them right next to the gym and don't get to get there because a lot of times I'm getting in late and then, you know, doing my pre-planning and route planning and advanced work for the next day. And then I'm all action. I'm at work. And so I rarely get to go to the gym, and when I come in, I just want to get something to eat and go to sleep, and we say rinse and repeat, and start it over the next day. So this is a good job, it's a good profession to be in. But you're going to get you're going to get out of it what you put in it. All right. So I love you. Thank you guys for watching. Larry, I got all of these mannequins and stuff. I meant to mention that to you last night. I got all these mannequin defibrillator things up in Maryland that I want to get to you. So we got to discuss how to get that for you.
Okay.
And maybe I just bring it to one of the next training. Maybe you know what I'll do. In March, you got to come up in March for the class in DC anyway. So you get all of that stuff, and I just give it. What we talked about. You get it. But all right, that's it. I love you guys. We'll be back. When I come back next week, this is what I'm talking about, because I've been getting the calls about some security companies who have been running amok on other people. So it had the scammer, the guy, Jerez Coleman, who goes by a bunch of names. He says he's under NBA Youngboys record label. He said he was under Kanye West Good Music. Now he's doing so much stuff, scamming security companies and transportation companies all over the United States. And I'm certain I'll post a picture of them later on. But now I'm getting calls from other security companies. Somebody posted me on Facebook the other day. Somebody, Falu, Hector Falu is his name, F-A-L-U. If you guys have ever experienced him, I'll just say steer far away from this guy, because he's contracting with security companies, local security companies, for jobs that he have, and then you guys go in and do the job, and he never pays you. He says the clients never pays them. And I've also heard this of Viking Protection out of, I think, Houston or Dallas, Texas. They're doing the same things. So I have this thing for me. If I've never worked with a client before, I don't have my money up front, I'm a money up front guy. So if it's no dough, for me, it's no show. We don't have boots on the ground if I never worked with you before. But if I don't have money in my pocket or in my bank account before I arrive, I don't want it to be processing. I don't want a credit card. I want to see the dividends in my bank account, or I don't show up. So, but these guys, if you had any experience with Hector Falu or Viking Protection out, I think it's out in Texas, somewhere out in Texas, please steer far and clear away from them. These guys aren't paying their contracts, and they owe people thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. So when I come back next week, I'm going to be talking about that. All right, it's Melvin Key, the security czar, the CEO of MVP Protective, the founder of the MVP School of Executive Protection. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Until the next time, peace.